my mom would always tell me, when you become sick and tired of being sick and tired, that's when you'll take action. So finally I said, you know what? I'm tired of not understanding the goals. And the goals just kept moving. So I'm just being transparent with you, family. That was the reason why. Are you ready to unlock the secret to mastering time management as a project manager? If you are, you're going to want to stay tuned to today's episode. Today's episode is entitled Mastering Time Management for Project Managers. Again, mastering time management for project managers. If you're new to the channel, this is your boy ED. For all you smart and intelligent folks out there, listen, that just simply means Ed. As you know, I have a 7-point framework. If you don't, I do. 7-point framework in which we basically from a 7-point focal point is focused on 7 key items that we believe, right or wrong, but it's mostly right, that we believe project managers should be looking at, adhering to, and eventually making adjustments. Everything that we say here is from the PMBOK or from other studies, as well as a decade of experience. Now that we got that out the way, let's work. Today's quote is entitled, "Time, when you harnessed with precision, becomes the catalyst that propels project managers to achieve remarkable feats. Mastering the art of time management empowers us to prioritize, plan, delegate effectively, unlock the path to unrivaled productivity and remarkable project success." Point number 1, prioritization and goal setting. Family, when I first started off as a project manager, I didn't do this. Matter of fact, even the second year, I didn't do this. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. It's just you and I, right? The third year, I didn't even do this. It was probably after the third year where I had got to a point of frustration. You know, my mom would always tell me, when you become sick and tired of being sick and tired, that's when you'll take action. So finally I said, you know what? I'm tired of not understanding the goals. And the goals just kept moving. So I'm just being transparent with you, family. That was the reason why I just stopped looking for goals, because it felt like we were running Scrum in a waterfall environment, and it just didn't make sense. And so finally I said, you know what? I'm not going to allow that to get in the way. I'm going to actually put some goals in place and just start prioritizing those tasks with those goals. So the reason why prioritization and goal setting is important, because it allows you, like I mentioned, to be able to prioritize the tasks and set clear goals, not muddy goals, but very clear goals that align with the project objectives. And by focusing on high priority activities and setting realistic, I'm sorry, that kind of came out wrong, but setting realistic milestones. Can you tell I love this? I do. Setting realistic milestones, you can assure that the time is allocated effectively and efficiently. Point number 2, effective planning and scheduling. Now, you know what I'm going to say. If you haven't, here we go. If you failed to plan, you plan to fail. I got to look up I love that quote. Anyway, point number 2, effective planning and scheduling. You literally have to be always looking at, like every day, you should be looking at your schedule every day, not just once no, every day, because you want to make sure that the planning that you put in place, if there's an opportunity to pivot, and I said opportunity because most people don't like to pivot once they put this massive schedule together. Like, no, we are not moving, we're not adjusting anything. But, well, what happened if you're not able to get a certain piece of equipment because of customs or because of delays from the manufacturer? So you have to be, your schedule at times will become fluid, even though you don't want it to. I'm not gonna lie, I hate changing it, but I know it's appropriate. I know it fits the situation, because you do a lot of upfront planning if you are an exceptional project manager. And sometimes you'll find out all of that upfront planning may have to get destroyed, and you may have to start over, and you have to be willing to accept that and willing to make those adjustments and pivot. Point number 3, delegation and team empowerment. I have to be honest with you, family. This is an area that I definitely struggle in. Not team empowerment. I excel there. Like, I'm always empowering the team and wanting to see them win. And, over communicating on things that I know I should, other people only tell me once and expect for me to pick it up. And so, but I don't do what other people do now. I want to be fair across the board because remember, family, you are the coach. So you can't get your emotions involved in, well, dang, that person only sent me a message once and expect that it's supposed to happen, but I got to send multiple messages. This is why they pay you because you are the project manager. So but where I struggle at is delegation because it's one of those things when you become a project manager, if you're not one already, it's you start developing. Hey, I'm just telling on myself. I'm just being honest though, family. You start developing a control thing. Like you're like, okay, we agreed on this. When are you going to deliver? Okay, next, you have a task item that you owe me. When are you going to deliver? And the delegation part comes in is like when I first had my very first project coordinator and we were working side by side and he one day he just tapped me. He was like, listen, Edward, man, I don't know why I'm here to support you. He was like, you're doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing. I said, I'm sorry, man. I'm just so used to it. But that's not an excuse to set you up for success. So I'll pull back. I said, let's start small and let's start with you doing meeting recaps and let me review it just to make sure that the notes that I have, if there's anything else I can add, and you can send it out, you can get so you can start looking, like the star that I see in you, the potential I see in you. So um, that's where I started trying to get better, family. But delegation for me is just like I just want to. I like creating a sense of urgency, and I learned that from Patrick Bet David when he said creating a sense of urgency. Like people like to hem and haw, they like to give me reasons why, and I'm like, you focus on all the wrong information. So I'll just rather go ahead and take it over. But that is not what makes you, that I found out you will just burn yourself out. So being able to delegate and have trust in your team that they'll actually deliver on what they said they were going to do. Time blocking and chunking, point number 4. I love this technique. So one of the things I do as a project manager, let's say I have meeting notes or I need to update the project plan. I will set a meeting for myself to update the project plan. Reason why I do that is because it minimizes the distraction and improves my focus because I'm only focusing on this thing here. There's nothing else that I need to focus on. And it also helps me when I'm following up with people to make sure the project deliveries are in place. But here's the chunking aspect. So when I'm looking to do some chunking, I may say, okay, uh, and when I say time blocking and chunking, I know some people look at those two different. I kind of align them together, but it's really more or less of creating your own space to work in, and then just go execute it in that time that you have. Don't do all these different things. There's a book out by Gary Keller. It's called The One Thing. Really excellent book. If you want to understand about trying to do 13 different things, it just doesn't work, family. I've tried it, and I've even read where it says if let's say you had 2 items and you focus 100% into that item, or excuse me, if you had 2 items and you focus 60% over here on one item and 40% on the other, then it's like, well, what if you just took that 40% and just really threw everything into that, and you would get further and faster. So, anyway, let's go on to point number 5. Point number 5: effective what communication and meeting management. Listen, I hate to meet just to meet. You know how that is, family. People just be, hey, look, let me put a meeting on your calendar. You're like, okay. And there's no agenda. There's no purpose of what we're here to meet for. And you frustrated. You're like, what are we here to meet about? Oh, I just wanted to talk to you about my grandma. And she went down the street and she got a loaf of white bread. And then she went and got some jelly. And I'm like, hey, listen, respectfully, I mean, I don't know what you're working on, but I am super busy. And I would prefer that next time you meet with me that we have agenda or a purpose enclosed in the meeting invite, so I at least can be prepared to discuss with you as well as that we're not wasting each other's time. So making sure you find efficient communication and management techniques is going to be huge. Like I just gave you two, putting an agenda in the meeting invite as well as a purpose. And then on top of that, what you want to do, if you're leading the meeting, I haven't really seen the success that I believe you should get, because I'm noticing a lot more emails are coming through. But I also would send a email of saying, "Hey, this meeting is happening in the next hour. Here's all the information in the meeting invite." And the only reason why I didn't see that as effective as maybe pinging someone in Slack or Teams or one of those type of platforms is because you get abundance of emails sometimes, or you're copied on a lot of emails. You just you if you're following point number 4, when you're doing time blocking and chunking, you may say, okay, for the next 2 hours I have dedicated to answer all emails and follow up on stuff. After that, I'll revisit that another time. So again, when you're in a meeting, and also even with your communication, you want it to be purposeful, you want it to be focused, and you also want to ensure that it's result orientated, as well as that it's a collaborative approach. I don't know how many times I've gotten on meetings and it's not a collaborative approach. It's the project manager doing all the talking, or leadership doing all the talking, and it's just like, and you're just listening and quiet. I remember, I think it was Simon Sinek that shared a story similar to that, and I think I may bring that story back. It was an excellent story about when there's only one person talking in a meeting, and he gave an example about a chief who was the last person to speak. And that's how I feel. I think the project manager sets the tone, but they should be the last person to speak in the meeting. It's not all about the project manager leading the meeting. Yeah, that's awesome, but there's other aspects there that are required from the team. But when you're on a good collaborative team, you don't have to worry about that. You can lead the meeting knowing that they're going to jump in. And I've been on some amazing teams where they have just jumped in, and I was leading the meeting, but it was so good. It was so much good synergy and collaboration that it was like, hey, I had no problem with it. Point number 6, proactive risk management. Listen, you have to understand um, risk management, because this is going to really save you time in preventing delays in your project. So the earlier you're able to identify risk, develop a mitigation plan, monitor that risk continuously, you can avoid a lot of setbacks. Last point, and this is one of my favorite, I probably should have started with this first, but it's continuous improvement and self-reflection. You know, family, um, one of the reasons that I believe self-reflection is key, it allows you to see where your areas of opportunities are. How I translate areas of opportunity, meaning what could I have done better there? How could have I handled, I recently had got, frustrated, family. I mean, we're normal. And the frustration always comes from the expectation. It was a certain expectation that I had from a resource, and they weren't delivering. And it just kept happening over and over. And one thing, when you work in a matrix organization, a lot of times you can't just be like, all right, get him out of there, let me get this up. You have to go through a process. And going through that process, it wasn't fun, because I knew the resource could bring a lot to the table. It was just that we just weren't aligned, and that's fine, but we still got to figure out a way to work together. So what I got from that encounter, it was just, I have to do a better job of attacking the problem faster. And I'm already fast at attacking problems and creating a sense of urgency. But I probably could have nipped this in the bud earlier, as they would say. But I was trying to allow for that person to understand I'm for them and not against them. And you'll have that a lot as a project manager. Like, people will feel that you're trying to take the credit or take over, and it's not about neither one of those two, because I don't win unless you guys win. So I'm going to make sure you guys look so good that they're going to say, wow, you did all of that by yourself? Yeah, they did. So again, family, this is one of my favorites of being able to do self-reflection. Some people call it the lessons learned, but I say doing a self-reflection at the beginning of the project, the middle, and the end, and just even throughout, when you feel like it's necessary, where it feels something that just didn't align and make sense, is really going to add a lot of value to you, as well as to the organization you work for. This has been your boy ED. Until next time, I'm out.